Hey, Steve. Now, since WGBS Live is all about Superman, we want to hear from the Superman fans that are watching us live on Facebook to distract them, and especially here in the United States, from the election coverage that's probably either exciting you or depressing you. So around the show, and if we don't have too much on the docket, we'll start taking your calls. To do this, you'll need Skype. Get on Skype, find supermanhomepage.com, and message us that you'd like to join. Please wait for us to reply. Don't call in. That just messes things up. And if we do get you on the air, please remember to turn your sound down because we are on a delay. But other than that, we want to hear from you.
Yes, and I believe I'm having a few microphone issues, so I'm fixing that up right now. I know people can hear me, but I'm using the computer microphone rather than my own microphone, the one that I've got here in front of me. So just let me fix that up as we continue on. But how's your week been, Michael?
It's been okay. I don't have as many positive things to say about Supergirl this week as last week.
Okay.
So that's going to be an interesting conversation to have, and not feeling Heroes in Crisis yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, yeah, we'll get into that too, I'm sure, at some point in this episode. But other than that, yeah, everything's fine, and I'm awake this week, I promise. You will not see any yawning.
Okay. Now, again, I'm not sure let me know if the sound is okay for you guys listening live. It is using the built-in microphone rather than this one here around my neck, so let me know if the audio isn't that crash hot, and I will try to fix it on the run. But as we like to do, we start with movie news each week, and Zack Snyder's at it again. Look, fans just won't let go the questions for any of his movies, superhero movies, and the latest questions about, like, why didn't Superman go off in Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice and try to find Martha himself using super hearing or whatever? And Zack Snyder came back saying, well, it's a film. They green screened a scene. They didn't get around to finishing it. Didn't make the final cut of the film, but he says the camera begins to rotate around him, and as he hears the cries of citywide crime going on, and as we get closer, he's in pain because he knows if he tries to find her this way, he'll have to ignore the countless crimes going on in the two cities in the world. So that's why he didn't use. That doesn't make sense to me.
I know. I promised not to yawn tonight. Can I yawn at that? Because that response, like, I'm thinking of Superman Returns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's that scene where after he creepily spies on Lois and Richard White and all that, flies up into the atmosphere, he's listening to all these things, he hears the alarm, and he goes for it. Now, I realize that, trying to find the needle in the haystack, which is his mother, would have been difficult. But think about it this way. What would have been better? Him getting all depressed and stopping, or flashing back to Man of Steel when she goes, make it smaller, and him using that to find his mother? Wouldn't that have been a little more dramatic? Wouldn't that have tied more into the character? But no, they had to do that. So,
yeah, look, I don't know. It just seems, if you continually need to explain your movie to people, like, I like Batman v Superman, don't get me wrong, it's probably my least favourite of the three Zack Snyder Superman films, but I like the film. But if you continually need to explain the film or answer questions from the fans about things that they don't necessarily understand, then you didn't do a fantastic job of creating the story that you wanted to create and making it clear cut what was happening. There are a lot of movies that I come away with questions, but that's because the movie leaves you wanting to, ask those questions, not because they're plot holes that you don't understand. And this is pretty much a plot hole in my books.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he didn't look for his mother because the main point of that sequence was the fight with Batman and Superman. That's what they wanted to shoot. That's what they built the film around. That's what they built the marketing of the film around. So if you don't have that, then you don't have what you have basically promised the audience. We have to have, there are times in movies where you kind of have to throw logic out the window because of plot points or you're going for a particular shot and all that. But to me, this is one of those movies where everybody, by the time we get to this point, everybody has been so wildly out of character, even on their particular journeys, that I just didn't care. I thought about, hey, why didn't you go look for his mom? But I'm like, oh yeah, they wanted to fight. So it's just one of those weird things. Yeah. I wish people would just kind of let it go. You're not going to get...
You're not going to break into song, are you?
No, I'm not going to break into song, I promise. I could probably work up a really good parody of Let It Go, singing to people to let, the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League and the light go. But I think at this point, the ship has sailed, and Warner Brothers is probably... I have no evidence of this, so this is just me talking.
Yeah.
I'm sure Warner Brothers has no interest at this point in continuing that.
No.
I'm sure they look at it as a failure at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on and let it go, as you said, and look at other film news. And the 40th anniversary of Superman the movie, as we know, is this year. And this isn't something that we had discussed off air yet, but I saw that you shared the post from Jim Bowers from CapedWonder.com, who has it on good authority that the upcoming what's the name of the...
Fathom events.
Fathom events, yes, the 40th anniversary screening that they're doing at a number of theatres around the USA in conjunction with Fandango is going to be the 4K release of the film, which, sitting in a theatre with the 5.1 surround sound and the crystal clear 4K footage playing in front of you on the big screen, that's going to be an experience.
Yeah, this is another reason why I'm looking forward to it, because I don't have a 4K player. I'm not buying the 4K version. At some point I may, it's just, down the road when things get better, and maybe we're going to upgrade our home theater thing. That's never been a priority of mine. So, at this point, I'm not going to have that cut. So this will be a good excuse to go see it. Plus, you have the fun of seeing a Fleischer short on the big screen, which a friend of mine today said was almost worth the price of admission. But yeah, I still think it's the 151-minute version, but I'd have to double check that with Fathom Events. But yeah, Jim Bowers is back on Facebook, which is great because now we're getting updates again.
Yeah.
on these kind of things. But yeah, but when you think about it, that really makes sense that would be the print that they send, because most theaters are set up for digital projection anyways. Mm-hmm. Why not have the highest level that you can for the projection? I have a friend that's just like, do I see it at home because I have the 4K, or do I go to the theater? And at that point, I'm like, it's whatever you want to do, really.
Do both.
That's kind of up to you. But for me personally, I'm like, okay, not only am I seeing this, I'm going to be seeing something that is meant to be seen on a screen like this, as opposed to, and this is nothing against people, theaters and stuff that do this. They're not just putting the Blu-ray or the DVD on a projection screen. This is something a little more sophisticated than that.
Yeah, indeed. And speaking of Superman the movie, I saw that there was a UK BBC show called Flog It, which aired on October 25th, and a signed script of Superman the movie, signed by Christopher Reeve, was sold on that show at auction. The script, along with a crew hoodie, was won by the woman who was selling it at auction back in 1980 when she entered a competition on a different BBC UK TV show called Multicoloured Swap Shop. And we've got a little bit of the video here, and then I'll get your comments on this overall. Let's have a look at this. I think I've got it here. I'll bring it in. This footage from both Flog It and Multicoloured Swap Shop, showing the Christopher Reeve script being sold.
Next, Mark faces up to a comic book hero who simply goes up, up, and away.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No.
No, it's Superman.
It's Superman. It's the Superman hoodie. But more importantly, we've got a script from Superman 1, 1978. There's some good facts to know about this film. You know, it starred, of course, the wonderful...
Just pause it there for a second, and I'll just forward through to the footage of Christopher Reeve talking about the original competition where he gave away this signed script.
This is something that you really can't get in the stores. This is the actual script that I used when I was doing the movie. It's the complete script of Superman 1.
That is marvelous.
Okay? And I'm going to personally sign it to whoever wins, from me to you.
Let's have a look at the script,
There you
because you've got some key things here. Of course, it's signed.
So as you see, it says there it's signed to Lisa, the actual woman herself. So if your name's not Lisa, then you'd be a bit disappointed at purchasing this particular item, but not too disappointed, I wouldn't imagine.
I like the idea of a show called Multicolored Swap Shop. That's kind of interesting. So, but yeah, that hoodie is kind of cool.
Mm.
And even if you're buying it secondhand and it was signed to somebody else, you still have a script for Superman the movie. That's and it's signed by Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally wouldn't plunk down thousands of pounds, I guess, since it's the UK, for it. But God bless anybody that does.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty rare item, and there aren't many things out there signed by Christopher Reeve, I wouldn't imagine, especially not a script from Superman the movie that he personally used while filming the movie. So, it's a rare collectible, and I imagine something that someone like Jim Bowers would be salivating over that.
I'm sure. I have a feeling he's got some scripts. I think he's just holding on to those and not letting anybody know for good reason.
Indeed. Now, talking about Christopher Reeve's Superman films, La La Land Records, in conjunction with Warner Brothers Entertainment, Warner Brothers Music Group, and DC Entertainment, are continuing the 80th anniversary celebrations of Superman with a 3-CD reissue of the original motion picture scores to Superman 2 and Superman 3.
Yeah, I checked them out. It's a 3-disc set, it looks like, if the La La Land site is to be believed, and I have no doubt that they would lie. They have no reason to lie to us. But the thing that I was really looking for is to see if it had anything that the Film Score Monthly releases didn't have, and it looks like they've got it positioned differently, but it's everything that was in that just re-released to people who couldn't get the Film Score Monthly version, and that makes me really kind of happy, because the scores to these films are really good, and each they have their similarities, but there's certain themes and certain leitmotifs, and there's certain bits and bobs from them that I absolutely love. So the fact that people who didn't get a chance to get those before can get them now is, even though it's a limited release, that's really cool. And I like that it comes with a little booklet, because those are usually a lot of fun.
Yeah, as it says here in the description on our website, both film scores utilise the same stellar master as that 2008 Film Score Monthly box set, and assembled across 3 CDs. Disc 2 presents a collection of sourced music and songs from the first 3 Superman films, composed by John Williams, Ken Thorne, and Giorgio Moroder, including some previously unreleased tracks, and limited to 3,000 units. So if you want to get your collection, get it now. You can order it through our website. Just head to supermanhomepage.com, and you'll look through the movies news, and you'll see the link there to the La La Land Records re-release of Superman 2 and Superman 3 soundtracks. And in the comments, Tina's asking, do people really listen to music and like soundtracks and that in their cars? And what's the point of really buying movie soundtracks? Well, I absolutely love listening to movie soundtracks, especially John Williams music.
I have listened start to finish to all of the Superman scores.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And in all of those cases, there is something in there that just really grabs me. The Superman 4 score is better than the film. and I know that sounds weird. And La La Land, I don't know if they've sold out. They re-released the Superman 4 on a 2-disc CD set as well. But there is something about the music that it's not for everyone. I get it. I understand that some people are just like, why would you want to listen to it? I remember back in high school, I had the score to Batman Returns, and I was listening to it on a trip with my dad, and he's just like, this just sounds like stuff should be happening to it. And I get that, but when you love these movies so much, and especially with the Superman films, it's not just what's going on the screen. It's not just Christopher Reeve, or even in Superman Returns, which again I argue is a score that might be better than the film. This is why Man of Steel was kind of disappointing to me on a score level, because I don't listen to that. Because it's a lot of this it's almost like musical filler. Whereas Williams and Ken Thorne and Alexander Courage and John Ottman, and all of these, and even if you have the Film Score Monthly and listening to the Superman Ruby Spears animated soundtrack, all of it, they put things in there that you don't notice. And then when you go back to the film and notice it, it just makes it a richer experience for me.
Yeah, Superman Returns soundtrack was phenomenal for me. I love listening to John Ottman's take on the John Williams music and themes on that CD, on that collection of CDs for Superman Returns. And I've used it. A lot of soundtracks for motivational kind of things, where you want to get hyped up before a big game or something like that. Indiana Jones is a great one to listen to for that kind of stuff. So. It's listening to the soundtracks is in many ways like listening to classical music, except on a more modern format, if you like, because they're building to crescendos and things based on action that you can actually think of or remember in your mind as you're listening to it.
Yeah, and going back to Williams and Indiana Jones, listen to any of the original Star Wars scores. To Star Wars or Empire, Return of the Jedi, Leia's theme in specific, that is on the album. It has this like really rich quality to it. There's like this interesting opening that's a little bit haunting, and it's just I think that a great film score will make a great film better.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can save a movie, and I'll go back to Superman 4. Superman 4 has a lot of problems, but if you listen to the version of the Superman love theme that they have, it's actually almost a little better. I won't say it's better than the original, but it's almost as good as the original because it has this really triumphant ending to it. And on its own, it sounds fantastic. So I have, this is how anal retentive I am, because remember folks, anal retentive is hyphenated. I have in my iTunes library a separate genre for Superman so that I can keep all those scores together. And I have them all on my phone because thankfully phones have larger storage capacity now. And I have a couple different playlists of that, just depending on what my mood is. But I always have the albums there because I never know when I'm going to want to listen to Superman 2 or Superman 3. If I was going to put them into a ranking, obviously Superman the movie is the best, followed, oddly enough, by Superman 4, followed by Superman Returns, and then 2, and then 3.
Okay. Now we talk about soundtracks, people, not movies themselves.
Yeah, no. These are just the scores. I have a very different ranking system for the movies.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's where things are at with the film side of news for this week. We look now to the TV side of the Superman or Supergirl world, and the latest episode of Supergirl aired on Sunday night there in the US and Monday night here in Australia. It was the 4th episode of season 4, titled Ahimsa. And I reviewed this episode once again for our friend Mark Lax, who is still dealing with some personal issues. And personally for me, this one I gave it a 3 out of 5, based on the fact that it felt like a bit of a filler episode. There were a few advancements, mainly on the Otis and Mercy Graves side of things, and on James, the Guardian, and especially that twist at the end about how the Guardian's actions were perceived by social media. But other than that, it very much felt like a filler episode to me, and like they were biding their time until they could get Melissa Benoist back to continue filming the earlier episodes in the season. As we know, they were filmed out of order.
So, the Iron Man stuff did nothing for me. It was cute, and again, we talked that it, like you said, it was a way of working around the fact that Melissa wasn't available for all the things they needed to film. So you could have, every time it was a shot of Alex talking to whoever was in the suit, I'm like, that's not Melissa Benoist in that suit. That's just not her. And it took me out of the show a little bit. And the fact that they kept going to the kind of Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark-esque view of her in there, it's cute, but it's just like, okay. There were things I liked about this. Interesting introduction for Manchester Black. I was not expecting him to be that. And I liked the actor, but that led to one of my problems with it, which is his fiancée dies at the end of the episode and just dies.
Yeah, but what did she die of?
Yeah.
Because when they did that telepathic link with her and John, he was saying, "Are you injured?" And she's going, "No, I'm fine." And then when they find her, she's like, Yeah, I'm just like, did she die of a broken heart? Is this like Padme in episode 3? Yeah, she didn't have any physical injuries, did she?
Yeah, or did having to be if they would have explained that, then using that parasite thing or that little bug thing, that Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan in your ear thing, to control everybody, just wore her out. A throwaway piece of dialogue saying that would have been nice, but when they found her, it's just like, what? Wait, why is she dying? There were some interesting advancements. I thought that Ben Lockwood's character really kind of jumped up a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that he is constantly on an upward trajectory of development, and I really like, and Sam Witwer is just amazing in the role. Every time I see him, I'm like, he kind of looks like Superman a little bit. He's got that black hair and the strong jaw. But the fact that she was in a suit, the fact that, Jimmy going in as Guardian felt kind of throwaway until the very end. I'm going to agree with you. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 because there were a couple little things that I liked. I really liked the chemistry between John and Manchester Black. Their scenes together I was always engaged with. And I did like the fact that they showed what was happening with the other Supergirl in Russia, that they had her. Because, as always, I watch this with my wife, and she's just, when they go into that room where there's that big block, I'm like, what is that? And Rachel goes, what is that? And then it comes down and it's her. I'm like, oh, they were hiding her in lead. This makes sense now. So, I don't know. It's just, it felt really weird. And did they really just kill off Mercy and Otis in the 4th episode of this? That's a Smallville waste of character there. Yeah,
it did seem odd, and I wasn't sure. I wrote in my review, it seemed that they were killed off, but we weren't given 100% assurity of that they got spiked or whatever, but we don't know whether or not that was the end of them. Apparently so, but for what they were, I'm not upset that they're not coming back, if that is the case. The actors themselves were annoying in those roles, but yeah, it is a bit of a throwaway of characters that had potential by name alone. But anyway, but I agree with you. Seeing the way that the Ben Lockwood character has grown, and the explanation for the mask, it's like the reason I wear the mask is because it's not important who I am. I'm just supposed to be an everyman. It's not about me. It's about what I stand for. Was okay. That kind of makes sense now. I can see a little bit. That kind of explains the mask to me now. But as you said, there were a few key moments that were interesting, and Guardian came in for a split second, did one thing, and then it was gone. But then the ramifications of what he did are going to play out in the next couple of episodes, because he's seen as being a champion for the anti-alien movement because of the fact that he's human, and that wasn't what James was trying to portray in what he did.
Yeah, it's an example of you can't control how the public perceives you.
Mm-hmm.
And I could totally see the anti-alien movement seeing him go in there and fight aliens and them embracing him because of that. And it's just, and they need to be a little clearer that something's going on with Ms. Nall because she came in and she warned him, but they showed her asleep beforehand. It's just like, guys, you really got to start explaining this.
Yeah.
Because it's not super clear. If people know who she is and know who her descendant is, then yes, they'll probably get it. But they're not I'm glad she's there. I'm glad that she's a part of the cast. I like her character. I like the actress. But the problem is that they need to explain it, because once they start dealing with it, I can almost guarantee you that there's going to be a portion of the audience that's going to be like, what was that all about?
Yeah. So only because I knew of the fact that she's a descendant or a precursor to Dreamer. Is it the character from the
Dream Girl? Yeah.
From the Legion of Superheroes. That the fact that she woke up and had obviously some kind of a dream that gave her a premonition of what was going to happen, or to go out and talk to James, was only clear to me because of the comic book knowledge that I have and the background knowledge that I have of who her character is. And I think similar thing with her interaction with Brainiac 5, was it last week, where he looked at her and said, oh, you look familiar, or you could see that there was a bit of recognition there. And again, only if you have the comic book knowledge would you actually understand why that was an important kind of little throwaway. But if they'd kind of given some kind of more of a obvious hint that that was what was happening, it might have made sense. But as it was, I kind of at one stage looked at her and went, is she asleep on her desk again?
Yeah, it's just like, if I slept that much at work, I wouldn't be working there anymore. I'm just saying that right now.
Exactly. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're at the halfway mark of tonight's show. We're going to take a quick break, play some messages, and then come back after that to look at the upcoming episodes of Supergirl. So we'll be back right after these messages.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer. I'm the voice of Superman in Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
When Lex Luthor unleashes his plan to destroy the world, you can be just like Superman. With a Superman Returns in Play-Doh suit, you can pretend to have all the muscles of the Man of Steel. Then, strap on the punch and crush gloves to hear the sound of every punch you throw and everything you crush. In Play-Doh suit accessory, you put it together, batteries not included, punch and crush gloves sold separately. And when trouble hits the skies, you'll be ready with a Fight and Fly FX cape with real flying sounds. This cape responds to every move you make, whether you turn left or right to save the day.
And we're back on WGBS TV Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com. And as I mentioned before the break, the next episode of Supergirl is the 5th episode of Season 4, and it is titled Parasite Lost. And we have the promo for that episode right now.
You have to keep feeding. You become invincible.
Supergirl, time to rumble. On it.
You can absorb any alien's abilities.
Why don't you pick on someone your own shape? Oh! This is one monster she can't fight.
Supergirl, all new this Sunday at 8/7 Central on the CW.
So there you have it. That's the trailer for the upcoming episode of Supergirl. Very much the Parasite that we know from the comic books, in the way that he drains people of not only their abilities but their very essence when touching humans.
Yeah, the whole thing in the description about how the military person that's now kind of there to watch the DEO, and they've come to a decision about Supergirl. It's one of two things: either more control, or they're going to cut her loose. And the whole thing about Kara writing an article that may put aliens into harm's way. I'm enjoying this season. We've only had 4 episodes so far, so it's really hard to kind of say, wow, man, I'm just not feeling it. Still better than season 2 in terms of development, but they're going to have to kind of either speed things up or do things in a different way to make this storyline work, because it's kind of on a precipice now where the things they're trying to do may not work out the way they want it to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also possible that they're kind of spinning their wheels a little bit because they know the crossover is going to happen in December, and all the big stuff's going to happen after that. So, I don't know.
And so there we have the agent from the DEO who turned and is now, as we saw in Ahimsa, they put the parasite thing in his ear, and it's taken over him, and now he's become more like the Parasite that we've seen in the comic books, and as John tells me in the comments, also the animated series. So, we look forward to seeing how that character develops, and hopefully the episodes improve as we get towards the very exciting and highly anticipated crossover event Elseworlds in December.
Yeah, but they've wrapped, so it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's now in the editing phase, so that's going to be kind of cool.
And speaking of which, you mentioned it last week, and we didn't have the image there at the time, but we got our first look at the monitor for that upcoming Elseworlds crossover, played by LaMonica Garrett, and we have the image right here for you. I think it was Marv Wolfman on Facebook was just like going gaga over how great it looked and how impressed he was.
Well, it's very comic book accurate, which 10 years ago they wouldn't have done. If they would have had the monitor, he would have looked completely different. But they decided to go full comic book, and he looks like the Wolfman Perez version from Crisis on Infinite Earths. So and he's carrying a big book, which is also kind of cool. So I'm just again, I can't wait. I don't think it's going to let me down. It's the thing I'm looking forward to most in pop culture at this point.
There you go. And Grant Gustin told EW.com that The moniker was just ridiculous, like seeing him in his suit. He's just a monster. He's like an absolute unit. He doesn't have to do a lot with his performance. He's so intimidating with just these subtleties. So that's dope.
Yeah, I can imagine. You have to pull that off.
Yeah.
You can't halfway do that character. You either got to go in all in, or it's just going to look silly.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, he's holding that big book, which we saw in some of the behind-the-scenes photos from the filming of this Elseworlds crossover, where the black-suited Superman appeared to be reading from it. So that is a very interesting development there.
Yeah, it's a bit Final Crisis, actually, now that I think about it. I wonder if they're going to kind of pull elements of that into it. That's somehow tied to whatever is causing all of these problems.
And Anthony in the comments asks if perhaps they're building towards a crisis on Infinite Earths for next year.
That's possible. I mean, they hinted at it in The Flash.
Merging all the Earths.
Flash, if The Flash goes to 2024, we'll find out.
So we'll wait and see what happens with that crossover coming up. But before then, as we mentioned, there are upcoming episodes of Supergirl, and we've got the description for the 6th episode of Season 4 of Supergirl, and it's called Call to Action. And the description says, everyone gathers for Thanksgiving, but Kara is feeling down after her televised debate with Ben Lockwood about the anti-alien sentiment coursing through National City. Meanwhile, James and Lena argue about the best way to handle the Children of Liberty. So a TV debate.
I like that. I also like the fact that they're doing a Thanksgiving episode. I appreciate it when shows do stuff like that, because kind of the way their seasons are structured, it seems to benefit for them, because they're going to have a new episode that week. Hopefully it'll go a little better than a couple years ago when there was a very uncomfortable reunion. That's the last one they had.
Now, Tina in the comments asks, are they planning on bringing Red Sun Supergirl in to this? Well, that's what we've been hearing, as far as that's where that Russian doppelganger appears to be taking inspiration from the Red Sun story from Grant Morrison, but we don't know exactly how that's going to play out, and that's something that is kind of a thread that's still hanging loose.
Yeah, and that better pay off big time, because they're building this up, and if it doesn't hit just right, that might be a problem.
So we'll wait and see what's going to happen with that doppelganger Supergirl and how that will play out in the, I guess, some point in the latter episodes of the season.
Yeah. Oh, maybe the Agent Liberty thing will be the halfway, the resolve kind of itself at the halfway point of the season when they do their mid-season finale, because they do that, and then the Russian thing comes up a little later. Then everything gets tied up together at the end of the season. Yeah.
And another question was, did the green kryptonite in the atmosphere in Supergirl affect Superman? Well, we knew from last week or the week before that he's off-world, having visiting Argo City, so he was not affected because he's not on Earth at the moment.
I want to see that uncomfortable meeting. It's just like, hey, I was a baby. I don't know any of you. What is going on? Aunt Allura? Okay. I mean, I'm sure he's happy, but this Superman, the first Kryptonian he met, supposedly, unless there was he killed Zod. Sorry. I take that back. They already revealed that. But it's like the first Kryptonian he meets is a bad guy. The second is his cousin. So I don't know how he feels about Kryptonians in this universe.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's like a the other adventures of Superman on Supergirl.
Yeah. That we'll never see.
That we'll never see, exactly. Alright, moving on and looking at the comic book side of the world of Superman and DC Comics, well, more exact, Tom King, writer of the Batman, Batman Secret Files #1, revealed a new variety of kryptonite, platinum kryptonite.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read that, but so what does it do?
Okay, so based in the story, we find out that what we have is a story titled True Strength, and in this, Batman is bruised and broken from a night of fighting crime. Superman arrives, leaving a chunk of platinum kryptonite on the table there, saying to Bruce, "Just touch it, Bruce, just once, and it lasts a lifetime. Then you can fight as I fight, as you should fight, with true strength." So apparently it gives whoever touches it lifetime, or like for the rest of their life, strength of a Kryptonian or powers of a Kryptonian. And how that works, why he didn't offer it to Lois Lane before he offers it to Batman, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that. It's an interesting moral conundrum for Batman. It's a weird thing to just drop into the story. Like, now there's platinum kryptonite, which will give you powers of a Kryptonian for the rest of your life. What? Okay, that's... How did you discover that this is what that does?
Yeah, exactly. How do you know that that's what it does? It doesn't... Like, who did he try it out on first to know that happens?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's an interesting psychological story for Batman. It's a terrible thing for Superman continuity.
Yeah, and, Batman thinks about what it would be like to be able to have heat vision and super speed and that kind of stuff and be able to stop a bullet before it hits a victim. But it's almost like the green kryptonite that he has in his utility belt. Like, it's there just in case, but will I use it, won't I use it? And
I hope you have that in a lead-lined pouch, Bruce, or you're going to have a nasty surprise in a couple of years.
Don't want to accidentally touch that one, and that's it. And then you have to try to find what? Gold kryptonite?
Yeah, something like that.
So that's Batman Secret Files #1. It's available now. It was released on October 31st. So if you're interested in reading that particular story that introduces platinum kryptonite into the DCU, then it is out now. But we look ahead to the comic books that are available this week. And those comic books are, pulling them up for you right now, we have Adventures of the Super Sons #4, very much a Halloween themed cover there with the boys in what appears to be a haunted house. Then we have Justice League #11 out this week, and it also comes in a variant cover which is themed on the upcoming Aquaman movie. So that is out this week. We have Superman appearing in Sideways Annual #1. Now, this is the Grant Morrison early New 52 Superman, which there's a bit of a story there in the background that we kind of haven't really touched on at the Superman homepage about whether or not he is still around. And Sideways does jump through different multiverse and different times and things like that. So it's kind of a bit unclear whether or not that character, or what is happening with that character.
Why not? If we're going to accept that he existed at some point in some weird Mixes-Pitalik type thing until that all worked itself out, go for it. I'm looking forward to reading it just to kind of see how, this Superman plays out. I wasn't a big fan of the New 52 Superman. Even Grant Morrison's 18-issue run kind of started going south at the very end there. And I never thought that they had a good handle on the character. So bringing this back is kind of like, okay, good on you, Grant. I'm glad you did it.
Yeah. We also this week have the very DC Rebirth Holiday sequel, trade paperback, out this week. I guess it's got a number of different holiday-themed stories in it. We also have Crisis on Infinite Earths Companion Deluxe Edition Volume 1. out this week. That is a mouthful. And
that's exciting too.
Yeah, how so?
These are the crossover issues for Crisis.
Okay.
So if you have the trade paperback or the hardcover or the absolute edition of Crisis on Infinite Earths, now you can read the stories that are referenced in the happening in other books, and some of them are really good. So I believe that's going to be a 2-volume series. So that makes me kind of happy to see that's happening.
They're being collected. Also out this week is Justice League Rebirth Deluxe Edition Book 3. That is a hardcover, I believe, out this week. And that is all the books coming out this week for Superman fans who are interested in purchasing those comic books.
Yeah, it's a light week for me. As in, I don't think I'm getting anything really hard in physical copy. I'm even going to have to wait on that companion, which makes me sad.
Yep, so a big one, I guess, for Superman fans or Super Sons fans is Adventures of Super Sons #4. That's probably the main one. The Justice League Drowned Earth story continues, and it's an interesting story. I'm waiting for that to play out a little bit longer before I kind of make my judgment on it.
Yeah. It seems to be the theme of the night is we're just going to wait this one out.
And these books are the first week of November books, which means they're the first week of January cover dates. So we're into 2019, and you know what that means? It means it's time for the annual Shield Awards here at the Superman homepage, and I've just started my preliminary work getting that all together, and we're going to be including the Krypton TV series in the poll, the voting categories this year, so that'll bump us out from 15 categories to 19 categories. So a lot to look forward to. Yeah, it's a bit of work there to happen, but yeah, I'm up to, I think, question 6 of 19.
Well, you always do a good job on that, so I'm looking forward to it.
And looking back, the first one was in 2001 or 2004, so it's been going quite a while now, the annual Shield Awards. And if you're wondering what the Shield Awards are, it stands for the Superman Homepage Indicators of Excellence in Literature and Design. That's what SHIELD stands for, but basically it's the opportunity for you, the Superman fans out there, to vote on a number of categories of what has happened in 2018 in the world of Superman, whether it be comic books, TV shows, movies, products, voting for your favourites in each of those categories, and we come out with the best of the best for 2018, and that includes Best Writer, Best Artist, Best Title, Best Superman Family Title, Best Story Arc, etc. for the comic books, and then there's Best Actor, Character, Best Episode, Best Writer, etc. for the Supergirl and Krypton TV series for 2018 as well. So we give all those results back to the creators, and I know that the people at DC Comics are always really appreciative to find out whether they've won those particular categories in the Superman homepage annual Shield Awards. So make sure you get involved when we announce them, probably either the end of this week or early next week. Depends on how quickly I can get it together.
Yeah, like every year, the payola and the attempted bribes that Steve has to turn down. It just gets more and more extreme every year. I'm just saying.
And Mark, Mark Lax has joined us in the comments on Facebook, brings up a very good point in the recent comic book. I'm not sure exactly which issue it was, but the latest Superman or Action Comics, where Lois and Clark are meeting, and the amount of times she called him baby. I counted, actually it was 6. It was 6 times. I thought it was more, but it was six times that she referred to him as baby in their conversation.
That's interesting. It's a little more intimate than I think we've seen her be like that, because they usually don't. I mean, for the longest time, her
Her pet name has been Smallville.
Smallville.
Yeah.
So I guess, maybe it's just this is one of the more intimate moments we've seen between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of thing happens.
Yep. All right, well, let's look elsewhere in the world of Superman. And on the merchandise front, we have a new Jim Lee statue, a DC Designer Series 12-inch Superman resin statue, which is now available, or will be available tomorrow. It is available to order now. Here is the image for it right there. And this 12-inch tall resin statue is sculpted by George Djokovic. And in this image of Superman gliding through the air, fists clenched, ready for anything, very much the inspired by the cover of Action Comics 1000, I believe.
A little bit. He was more standing with his hands on his hips.
Yeah, he was too.
In that one. It's a Jim Lee Superman. He's got broad shoulders and he looks angry.
The costume featured in the best-selling Action Comics 1000 is the description that they've got there, which is just the classic costume, really.
It's the costume. Come on. Are you gonna give Jim Lee props for the little silver things that every other artist has ignored?
Yeah, weird.
So it's just.
But it's a nice looking costume. It's limited to 5,000 units and is individually numbered. And as I said, is available to order now through the Superman homepage. So make sure you, if you're interested in that one, it's a cool looking statue right there.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, and not something that I'll be getting, but I'm sure Jim Lee fans are kind of happy with it.
Very cool. And nice to see that people are listening to us in all the different parts of the world. We've got Justin, who's here in Sydney. He's at the motor registry here, trying to get either his license renewed or registering his car or something, and he's listening to it on his phone. So, pretty impressive.
I'm just saying, if you need somebody to get you through the DMV, we're your guys.
That's it. Who else better to turn to? Or if you've got voting blues, or you're just trying to get away from what's happening there in the US with all the voting stuff, we're your distraction for the evening.
Hopefully. Sorry about that.
All good. Now, also at the Superman homepage, I've just recently updated the Super Trivia Quiz for another month, for the beginning of the month, and we've got 3 questions we're asking you this month, and they're all related to the Zack Snyder films. I'm going to let you know what those questions are now, but if you want to answer them, head to the Superman homepage website, and you'll find the Super Trivia Quiz under the Favourites menu. But the 3 questions we're asking you this time around are, in the movie Man of Steel, where does Pete Ross work? So that's the adult version of Pete Ross. Where does he work? In the movie Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, what does the label on the mason jar of liquid in front of Senator Finch read? And in the movie Justice League, what Stephen King story does Barry Allen the Flash refer to when Superman first returns from the dead? So if you think you know the answers to all 3 questions, head to our website. As I said, you'll find the Super Trivia Quiz under the Favourites menu. I think you know all those ones, Michael.
Those are some good questions. About a month or so back, you could argue that Pete Ross won, but that was just a bad marketing stunt gone wrong. So
there you have it. So they're the Super Trivia Quiz questions for this month. Get involved and have some fun with that. And each person who guesses it right will have their name in the list there of people who guessed all 3 questions right on next month's Super Trivia Quiz. All right, well, we have time for this right now, this time.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bubble of your earthly confinement.
Alrighty, we got a packed one this time out because we have one from every decade. In November 1938, on the 3rd, as a matter of fact, Action Comics number 7 came out. Superman is once again on the cover there. In 1948, Action Comics number 128 and Adventure Comics number 136. So you had a Superman and Superboy story coming out this week, way back when. In 1958, you have Superman number 126 coming out on this very day, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics. Then in 1968, you have Superman number 213, which has a lifeless Superman sitting in front of a tomb, which is excellent. One of those like covers they show for best Superman covers. 1978, which I don't have popped up, so I'm going to vamp for just a second while I get that going, because 1988 is really boring. You have DC Comics Presents number 6, where Superman teams up with Green Lantern, and Justice League of America number 168. Mm-hmm. Then, in 1988, we only got the one book, and it's kind of a cheat, so I will completely admit to that. We have Action Comics Weekly number 631, which has the 2-page Superman story in it. In 1998, Action Comics number 750 came out on this week. And if you look about 3 or 4 issues ahead of that, after that, you'll see a letter from me about that book printed, which was really
nice.
cool.
How cool is that?
Then in 2008, folks, we are not only hip deep into the new Krypton storyline with the Adventure Comic special featuring the Guardian, but you also had the Kingdom Come Superman, a JSA Kingdom Come Superman special, which came in 2 covers. And in the real world, November 7th, which is tomorrow, is traditionally recognized as the birthday of Martha Kent.
Why did you say that name?
I kind of had to. It's written down. I have no choice.
So there you have it. That's This Week in History in the World of Superman. And that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's show. But before we do sign off, I'd like to thank everyone for watching tonight's WGBS TV Live broadcast. And thanks everyone in the Facebook comments for your participation in tonight's show. And a big thank you to you, my co-host, Michael Bailey. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, pleasure as always, Steve.
And a huge thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham and Henry Bernstein. And if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage, please head to patreon.com/Superman homepage. Now, the complete 1-hour video of tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage website and our Facebook page if you'd like to watch it back or perhaps miss part of the show. But we'll be back next week on Tuesday, November 13th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another edition of WGBS TV Live. We look forward to speaking with you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice. On behalf of myself and Michael Bailey, thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.